Hi, welcome to episode 406 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop where I sell my handspun yarns and knitting patterns, also called the Corner of Knit and Tea. Happy New Year! I hope that you are doing well and that your 2023 is off to a good start. Today is Monday, January 2nd, and I am coming to you from just outside of Kansas City, where my husband and I live. So I hope that you are doing well. I hope you've enjoyed holidays and just a bit of a break towards the end of the year. I am actually off work today for the last day. I go back tomorrow. And our break has been okay. We lost internet on Friday and we have not had it back since, which has been sort of a bummer because we planned to hang out and watch movies and just kind of not do much for the holiday weekend. And as it turns out, we've sort of done that. We've just had to do different things. I actually started the DVD series Battlestar Galactica because we had it. And so I have been working my way through that. I'm actually partway through season 2 already in just a few short days. And my husband has been puttering around the house, working on crafts, cleaning. I've done a little bit of cleaning and I've done lots of crafting. So that is kind of what we're up to. Unfortunately, if the internet does not come back tonight, we are going to have to go into my husband's office tomorrow. Normally we work from home, but he does still have an office here in Kansas City to go into. And we decided, I guess we're going in tomorrow if we need internet because, of course, I personally cannot do much of my work without the internet. I rely exclusively on Google Docs, and I have phone calls set for tomorrow and a variety of things. So it's been a little bit exciting. We have all of our power, we just don't have any internet connection. So that has been a little bit of an exciting weekend. But otherwise, I have mostly been crafting, so let's jump right in. Today I am drinking grapefruit oolong from Adagio Tea. It is oolong tea, natural grapefruit flavor, orange peels, and sunflower petals. I bought this a while ago, but my guess is they still have it since it's a fairly basic flavor, and it is one of my favorites from Adagio, and I am drinking it in my knitting circle mug by a Scottish potter. I believe it's Anna Wright. And it's got sheep inside the cup and outside the cup, and the tea is delicious. So unfortunately, one of the other things that I seem to have done is done something to my back. I'm having back spasms right in the middle. So if I move a little awkwardly today, you'll know why that is. Kind of a less than fun way to spend the day. I have mostly been on the heating pad watching Battlestar Galactica and knitting. So let's talk about what I have been working on. I actually have 2 finished objects, and they are not something that I talk to you about, because when I have a million other things to knit, what do I usually do? I knit hats. And as part of my cleaning the other day, I went through my scrap bin and sort of reorganized things, and I put all the blues into one big Ziploc bag, and so I have been knitting blue hats. And I don't know 100% for sure where these hats will go. Usually when I knit blue hats, I send them to Hat Not Hate, which is a Lion Brand initiative. It's a 501c3, and it is an initiative to stop bullying, the color to stop bullying, or anti-bullying to be a rich blue. And so I had some blues, and I thought I would knit some blue hats, and I have purchased Hat Not Hate tags. They sell a few of the tags for relatively inexpensive. It's a little bit of a fundraiser and also a way to tag your hat. And I have a Ziploc bag of a little mini Ziploc of like 3 or 5 of them. So I thought I might as well knit as many blue hats as I can and see what I can do. And you know me, I just love knitting scrappy hats and using up leftovers. So I have knit 2 hats and I have started a third, so I will just talk about those really quickly. This first hat is my pattern. It is Undaunted, and it is a free pattern courtesy of Knitter's Pride. You can get it on their blog. There is a link to it on Ravelry, or if you just Google Knitter's Pride and the name Undaunted, the pattern will come up and you can get it. It's right there on the blog. You don't need to download anything. And I knit this in Dream Color Classy in the bedtime colorway. It was yarn that was left over from Miles' sweater, my nephew's sweater that I knit this year, and I had enough to knit the hat, and then I held a little bit aside for a sweater, and I just have a few yards left, so I don't know where I'll use it, but I used up most of the cake, and I actually knit the large size although I knit it on slightly smaller needles. The pattern calls for a 6 and an 8, and I think I knit this on a 4 and a 6 because I liked the way it was coming out, but that is not unusual for me to drop a needle size either. So it's just an unbroken or a broken rib hat, and it's unisex for all sizes. It gathers kind of quickly at the top. I did not have enough left over for a pom-pom, which I do usually like to put on my hats. Maybe I'll find a contrasting color and do a pom-pom with that when I'm done knitting the hats. I'll see what I have left over. So that is the first one. The second one is this little hat, and I don't know if I'll send this to Hat Not Hate or if I will send it to the hats that I knit for a store in Oklahoma, just because it is a small hat, although actually even though it looks small, it will fit on my head, but it looks a little bit smaller, and I don't know what the bottom is. I suspect it might be a Barocco vintage, but I'm not 100% sure. It is kind of a dusty navy, and then the top I do know is oh, it's the acrylic that I use from the wow, I'm really having an issue today. Wool Market in the UK. It is the leftovers, or some leftovers from the yarn that I used on my crochet blankets. And I had a bunch left over in the blue. I still actually have a little bit left over in the blue, so maybe it will be a pom-pom for a different hat, but I used up all of this navy and just kept going with the ribbing until I decided to do the rest. And like I said, it is deceptively small. It looks small, but it actually will fit on my head. So it is not, and I do have an adult small head, but it's not as small as it looks. It definitely looks like a child's hat, and maybe I have a child-sized head. Actually, I do. In baseball caps, I can wear a child's extra large, and it fits much better than the adult sizes. Anyway, so that is the other one that I have finished. And I went ahead and started a third, but I have not gotten very far. I just started with this yesterday, and it is from the Year of Hats by Kelburn Woolens. I have knit it before. I think it is either the June or July hat, and I cannot remember who the designer is, but it is one of the designers that works with Kelburn Woolens, and it is the one that has like all the different colors going up to the top with the slip stitch. Many of you who have seen me knit hats before will have seen me knit this one, and I am knitting this in what I think is leftovers from my friend Christine's. It's Treasure Goddess. It is probably her Treasure DK in Swim with the Fishes, which is this nice kind of a royal blue color. And then I am contrasting with, I think this might be Sport Weight. I think it's Cascade 220 Sport. And it is yarn that I had that was undyed, and I dyed it in Berry Blue Kool-Aid, so it is kind of bright, but it's a little bit kettle dyed, and it still vaguely smells of berry blue, so it smells kind of fruity. Anyway, I thought these two colors would be really nice together, and so I am working on that one and should have that one done next week. I still have lots of bits and bobs in my container here. I still have much more of the blue, and I have a variety of darker blues that come from I don't know where, so my guess is I'll do a few more hats kind of like that, and then I have lots of little bits and pieces. I do have one skein of a Kramer Mash Chunky in Blueberry Ice, so I'll probably knit one chunky hat out of all of this, but my guess is I will get 4 or 5 hats out of this at least, and then I'll put the scraps back and pull out a new bag. In terms of colors, I have a green bag, I have a pink bag, and then I have a variety of things that I put together that will make a hat. Some of them are whole skeins, some of them are a couple skeins, so I just have lots of hats that I can make. And I know I said this year I was going to focus on some socks, and I really am, but sometimes I just want to knit scrappy hats, and I have a million places to donate them, and so I am going to knit scrappy hats while it makes me happy. Eventually I will get off this kick. Usually this works for a couple weeks and I get a whole bunch of hats done, and then I move on to something else. So I'm gonna ride it while I have it and work on more hats, and then hopefully I will have a stack of hats to get me started towards next year. So and I'll use up some scraps in my stash. I have a whole bin. And when I say bin, I have like a square cube. I have a whole square cube full of leftover things, some in bulky, some in worsted, some in fingering, and it would be great if I could get through the whole bin this year. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I will do that, but like I said, as long as I am feeling inspired to knit hats, I think because they're quick projects, they're fun, I can pick a bunch of different patterns, and then have a whole stack of fun hats, and then I will probably use the very last bits of leftovers and pieces to do pom-poms for all of them. That actually is a great idea. I think I'm totally going to do that. So that is the new cast-ons that you have not seen. I do have one other, but let's talk about some of the things you have seen. So I made some progress on my Christmas socks. These were my Christmas Eve cast on with Little Bobbin's Knits, and I made some hand-spun yarn this year. The braid that I used is a Hello Yarn braid. It is in Falkland, and it was called Not Crying. I'm sure it was not intended as a Christmas yarn, but it had golds, yellows, and reds, and so I just thought it would make an excellent Christmas colorway. You can see there's just tons of good reds, golds, and greens in there. And it knit up into a nice tall sock. So I got a little out of hand with the ribbing here, but that is okay. I just decided to start it when I hit some of the colors and then wanted to keep going until I finished all the colors because what I really wanted was lots more red, but this is very kind of yellow and green heavy. Anyway, so this is David Schultz's Toe Up Sock Cookbook. And it is a recipe for when you want to knit a sock and you don't know what gauge your sock yarn is. And so it is perfect for handspun, although it will work for any socks. And the best thing about it is that you start at the toe and you work on the toe and you knit enough of the toe that you can basically get a gauge swatch from your toe. So then you don't have to do a separate gauge swatch, and you take all those numbers and then apply them to, for instance, the circumference of your sock, how many stitches are going to be as part of your gusset and heel flap, if you're going to expand in the calf or on the cuff. And so it is a great sock pattern that is kind of multi-purpose. I've knitted a bunch of times. I will tell you, for the most part, I use it for the gusset and the heel flap. This is my favorite. Gusset and heel flap are my favorite construction for a sock. Usually I like them cuff down. That is how I prefer to knit my socks. However, when I'm knitting with handspun, I really like using a toe up sock pattern, because then I can use all my handspun and I don't have to guess as to how long I can make the cuff and then how much I would have left for the foot. So my toe up patterns definitely have their uses, and I actually will probably be knitting quite a few patterns toe up this year because I am hoping to knit all those charity socks and maximize my yardage on those socks. Just use up the whole skein. So my plan is to wind up the skein, divide it in half, and then start working on those. I have not started working on that pair yet, although I wound up the yarn last night, so I just need to divide it in half and then I can start on that. I also have not started my second sock because I got into a little bit of hat fun, but I decided that one is good and I will get back to it eventually. Probably at the end of my hat kick, I'll pick it back up and then I will do the second one. And this one only took me 2 or 3 days. Now, of course, I had a lot of time to knit, but I don't expect the next one will take me super long once I actually sit down and knit it. And I might actually put it next to my computer for conference calls and things like that, and then I can be working towards it. So the next project that is on the needles is one that I have shown you before a couple times. I have been working on this for the last few weeks or so, and that is the Zen Zip Tee by Suzanne Nielsen. And that is a fun tee pattern that is knit. It's knit lengthwise here, so basically I'm knitting it sideways and we're creating these panels. My neutral color is actually not white, it is black. And then I have some fun variegateds for the center section. So let me go back to what I am working on and show you where I am. I am past the halfway point on the sweater now. So the sweater starts, and I'm not giving too much away, the sweater starts in construction at the middle of the back where you do a provisional cast on. So my provisional cast on was right in the middle of this back section where I have, sorry, I've just got lots of yarn tails. And I have not woven in any of my ends yet, so I will have to do that. The provisional cast on starts at the center of the back, and then you work over the back, and then you work, this is the back and the back shoulder, and then you put some stitches on hold so that you can do the side panel. These stitches will eventually come together to make the armhole. And then you do a front section, and partway through the front section, you start shaping for the V-neck. And then you work through halfway through the front section. And so right here, this is the middle of the front section. I have worked my most variegated colorway here. And then when you get to the center section, you go ahead and leave your stitches on a needle or on a stitch holder. And then you go back and pick up from your cast on at the center of the back. And I am now working on the back, the other sleeve side. So I am halfway through this section here in the black. It will match match this one. So this will be the cross back width when I finish this section, and then I will just have the side section and the 2 front sections to go, and then the sleeves. So like I said, I am about halfway through my knitting, a little more than halfway through my knitting here. We have another knit along class coming up this coming weekend, next Sunday, January 8th. It is not too late to order a kit and join us for the last 2 sessions. The last 2 sessions are the 8th and the 22nd. And this has turned out to be a fairly easy and uncomplicated knit. The pattern is excellently written. I have been following it, and it makes for a pretty easy knit, and I am excited to have this finished. My guess is it'll be another couple weeks before I have this finished, because I am going to put this, not aside, but I have plenty done in time for the knit along on Sunday, so I may actually work on a couple other things this week and then go back to this next week. But that is my progress so far. I think last time when I talked to you, I was maybe partway through the black section here, so I have added another couple sections, and I do find that the way the sections are divided, it's easy enough to knit half or a section per night, and so that's kind of what I've been doing. So that is that one, and it is coming on its way towards being a tea. So again, and I am using Zen Yarn Garden. I am using as my dark color their super fine fingering in Midnight, and this is the label. And then I have been using some of their baby skeins, which are, they have a variety of mini skeins. Many of them are 200 yards. These are actually only 100 yards, so they're 25 grams, 100 yards. And I have these 2 left to work on. I have, this is the second half of the front, and this is the side panel and the sleeves. And then I only had a very, very, very tiny bit left. I was a little afraid I wasn't going to make it, but I actually did make it. I had just a few yards left, and I can't see where I put it, if I put it in here at all. I guess I didn't. I don't know what I did with it. I'll have to find it. I only had a very few yards left of the back. So I did use up almost the entire skein on the back. So that is that one. And then I have one other new cast on, and this is going to be a sample for Zen Yarn Garden. Oh, and I forgot to bring the tags. I am knitting a little bit of a surprise. I'm knitting a baby surprise jacket from Elizabeth Zimmerman, and I am working from her, I want to say no crying in knitting, but that's no crying in baseball. No tears. I can't remember which one. Oh no, this one is actually from the Opinionated Knitter. Elizabeth Zimmerman wrote the pattern for the baby surprise jacket as part of her newsletters. If you have ever knit from an Elizabeth Zimmerman pattern, you know that the instructions are sparing, but that you will wind up with a finished garment. You can also get more detailed versions of the pattern as written by Elizabeth Zimmerman's daughter, Meg Swanson, at Schoolhouse Press. So if you are interested in knitting the baby surprise jacket, you can either get it from Elizabeth Zimmerman's books, or if you want kind of a step-by-step that leads you through the full pattern, you can get a copy from Meg Swanson at Schoolhouse Press. Both are available through Ravelry or elsewhere. Like I said, I have the Opinionated Knitter on my bookshelf. I have several of Elizabeth Zimmerman's books. She also wrote the Knitter's Almanac, and then there is one about tears and knitting without tears. I think it's Knitting Without Tears. And so I have a variety of her books, and there are lots of patterns in there. But I have started on a baby surprise jacket. The yarn that I am using is Zen Yarn Garden. It is in one of their Art Walk colorways, which is they take a yarn and they dye it based on a painting. And I cannot remember what the painting is. I think it's something about, it's not about ballet. No, it might be. I will have to bring the tag next time, but this is the colorway. It is yellow and it has bits of pink and gray in it. And honestly, I didn't know how the color was going to read when I knit it up, but it's reading very yellow. But that is okay. It is going to make a sunny little baby surprise jacket. So I do have some pooling, despite the fact that I am using 2 skeins. This is, sorry, Zen Yarn Garden. This is their DK weight superwash merino. And it is approximately 250 yards to the skein. I believe, maybe 225. I think it's 225 yards to the skein. I will bring the tags next time. Bad podcaster. And I have just started. So if you have ever knit the baby surprise jacket before, it is a little wonder of garter stitch. And basically you knit it all in one piece. And when you are done, you do some origami like folding, and it creates a little bit of a jacket. And there are a few seams to knit up, but it creates like a little baby cardigan. So I am working on that. I expect that this will be a quick knit. I will probably crank this out in the next week, which is part of the reason I don't know that I will be working on my tea as much. I would like to crank this out in the next week because I also have 2 shawls to work on for them, and I would like to get those done so that they can premiere in time for spring. But in order to do that, I have to knit them and they have to go to the photographer. So, like I said, it's pooling a little bit where you can see the pink and gray in the middle and at the edges, and for now, I think that's fine. I am alternating colors, and the colors are alternating skeins, and the skeins did not start at the same point, so I'm not quite sure why it's pooling quite the way it is. I'm sure as I start changing stitch counts, it will do some different things, but again, these are the 2 skeins that I am using. So actually, I think that's basically what I have for you. I did go ahead and spin up some fluffy singles for a project that I have in mind, and I still haven't gone and used them. I'm thinking maybe I'll do that when I'm done here. I have so many things to work on and so many things I want to work on. The new year has kind of hit me with a whack of crafting mojo. The one thing I have not done is been spinning, and I think part of that is because since our internet has been out, I have not been sitting at my computer at knit night with my friends, and that's often where my spinning time is. But I do have, excuse me, that braid of Kim Dye's yarn picked out. It is sitting right over there at my spinning wheel, and my hope is that I will have some time to do that this week and to kind of get into that braid, and that one will be for the shop. So I think that's probably all I have so far. I hope that your new year is off to a good start. I hope you found some crafting mojo. I know I've seen a couple people doing a whole bunch of brand new cast-ons for the new year. I've seen a couple people finishing a lot of whips. I've seen a couple people enrolling in some, or not enrolling, but identifying with doing some challenges for the year. So far, I have not really picked anything in particular to challenge myself on. Like I said, I'm on the hat kick, which I'm enjoying, and I do have that yarn wound up to start a pair of socks, so that might be the one other thing that I cast on this week. I'm still working on a chicken. I have, like I said, a million different projects, and a lot of things that I would like to do this year. I picked out a pattern for the yarn that I bought while I was in Norway, and I found a, it is not a Norwegian colorwork sweater pattern, but it is a colorwork sweater pattern, and I am really, really excited to give that a go. So I'm hoping maybe I'll cast that on in January or February if I have time, if I get through some of these other things, because I would love to knit another sweater before the winter is over. Although we'll be away a bit in February, so I don't know how that's going to work. And I'll have all new things for an all new year. So I really don't know precisely what the year will bring. I am open to letting what I want to work on guide me along with some of the projects that I have in mind. And I think that's it for today. Oh, you may not be seeing this video until Tuesday or Wednesday, and for that I do apologize. Remember I said we have no internet at home? I am filming this on today, January 2nd, which is Monday. I am going to take it with me to my husband's office tomorrow and try to upload it to my YouTube account, providing we don't have any internet here. So hopefully you will be able to see this as soon as Tuesday, January 3rd. If not, it may be a few days, and I do apologize, but of course sometimes these things can't be helped. So I hope you have a lovely new year with no technological snafus. I hope you find some great crafting mojo, and until I see you again, I will say as I always do, happy spinning, happy spinning, happy knitting, happy sipping, and happy 2023. Bye.